Hi, my lovelies. Happy Saturday. It's time to dose. It is noon and I really need a dose, but I got so much done, so it's cool. So I'm back. I think it's funny because I've been going for like a half an hour. I went outside and cleaned. My front porch looks phenomenal. I've been working so hard. Today I want to replant the rose bush that has literally outgrown his pot, and he's like climbing like up. So I want to get like a deep pot, bury that thing in there so it can like thrive. Cheers to that. I've been like watering plants and all that good stuff. Now I'm gonna get my own water. Okay, water. Now I want to talk to you guys about recovery, about all the different ways that are out there. We all have been taught a very specific way of like abstinence. And if that works for you, you keep doing that, you know? If that is your power, then freak yeah. Like, keep doing whatever works for you. I applaud anything that's helping anyone, you know? And if you're using and that's what works for you and that's what you need to do, I understand that to my core because that was me. I have a chronic illness that led me to years and years and years of suffering and in desperation to turn to something very controversial, you know, like we're not going to say those words, but I chose a very controversial lifestyle because existing in excruciating pain was something I couldn't do anymore, and I was willing to do anything. And I think because the system continued to call me an addict, I just fell into that because, you know, I was a party girl, but I was having fun. And then I was drowning in pain and I turned to something controversial. And that's the way I like to see that. Because for me, I needed to do that. And I thank God every day for teaching me through pain that we can never understand what another person is going through. We have to just trust them, that they know what's best for them. And we have to help people maintain hygiene, maintain safety. That's what matters. You know, just because you can't possibly understand why someone is making a choice doesn't mean you hate on it. And I don't like all the people who treated me like I was the scum on their shoe because they didn't have an ability to understand the pain I was in. Sorry, like, who that upsets, but that is the truth. And that's why, like, for instance, in jail, we took care of each other when the deputies would just slam the door and laugh at us in pain, you know? That's not acceptable because some of us were only there because we were seeking to medicate ourselves out of sheer desperation because no one was listening. I was blessed with having insurance. That was the one thing my parents stood behind me on, was to continue to pay for my insurance in case I ever got the help they wanted me to get. But they couldn't see that I was taking care of myself because no one else would and no one could understand. And now because of everything I've learned and everything I've changed about myself, you know, people are listening, and that's why it's important for someone like me to share, because everybody has their own reasons for doing things, and we just have to help each other because we can't understand what someone else is walking, what someone else is living, and the pain they could possibly be in. We can just offer help and love. And that's why I'm here, and I'm here to talk about an entirely different way. And I'm not here to shit on anybody's way. I'm just here to offer my experience because, yeah, I was thrown away and deemed worthless. But no one is worthless. No one is beyond help. No one is beyond understanding. And that's all we can do is try to empathize with each other and give the best help possible. You know, why didn't someone see that I just wanted to feel better? And so now I want to help other people who could be in the same situation. I mean, all rugs are medications. And as much as maybe 95% of people would struggle with something, there's going to be a small percentage that everything out there helps someone, you know? Everything has the possibility for good, or for good in the moment, or whatever. I think deeming anything as just bad and wrong is wrong. You know, I know there's people out there that want to outlaw benzos. And then I just watched something on YouTube the other day where it was literally saving someone's life.
The candy.
Oh my. My little boy is endlessly adorable and amazing. So I don't remember what I was talking about, but something else I want to throw out there. We all make choices, right? And even if someone doesn't necessarily agree with our choices, there's things that I think people forget about. And I speak from experience on this one because this happened to a friend of mine. You know, there's a lot of people who party. There's a lot of people who, you know, purposely will like only do, you know, this or whatever because they know their body and they know, you know, that they can be productive members of society and still partake in whatever party situation, and then someone poisons their supply. And even if they trust everyone in the room, maybe someone that those people trusted on up, you know, is the one who did it, but somehow the supply is poisoned with something very physically addictive that they never, ever would have put into their body. And suddenly they're living a life where they're a slave to a substance because of physical addiction. That is why safe supply is so incredibly important. That's why the prohibition on substances can be so bad. And it's so hard to know what to do because, you know, someone is respecting what they put into their body and choosing things that work for them, and suddenly they aren't given the choice anymore. That's not okay. Things like that are not okay, you know, and you think you're using one thing and you're really using another, and it changes your entire life. And suddenly when you were so, you know, responsible and productive in society, and suddenly you're living a nightmare on a choice you never made, that is horrible. We should always be able to trust what we put into our bodies. And I know some people don't agree that anything should be a choice, but what about freedom? What about freedom? You know, people use different things for different reasons. And where there's gonna be people who struggle, there's gonna be people where it helps them. And every single human being matters. And every single human being has the right to their own bodily autonomy and choices. And so I fight for knowledge. I fight for goodness. I fight for honesty. And I think if everyone were honest, we would live a different world, you know? And I think it's so important to not... Yes, baby? We don't have goldfish, but we're going to the store. Anyways, I gotta run. But we don't have goldfish right now. I don't even know if we have Ritz. We gotta go to the store. Anyways, I gotta run. I just want to show the other side, you know? And that's what my recovery looks like, is learning to be compassionate, empathetic, and understand that everyone has the right to their own body, and that we can never understand what another person is going through, so we can only choose love. And I hope everyone has a beautiful Saturday. Bye.